as guidance farm, the farm of the future filled with love.
Before watching, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Welcome to Asgardian's Farm. Today we will be discussing about snail farming. Snail farming, also known as heliciculture, commonly known as snail farming, is the process of raising edible land snails, primarily for human consumption or cosmetic use. The meat and snail eggs can be consumed as escargot and as a type of caviar, respectively. The 5 basic steps you need to follow to start a profitable snail farming business are as follows. Step 1: Decide which species of snail to farm. Step 2: Set up your farmland for housing. Step 3: Purchase your snails. Step 4: Feeding and rearing of the snails. Step 5: Harvesting and selling of the snails. The most popular edible snails in West Africa are the giant snail, Achatina achatina, and the big black, Archachatina marginata. Most studies on snails in West Africa have concentrated on these 2 species and on the garden snail, Achatina fulica. Other exotic foreign breed and species are as follows. The European garden snail, Helix aspersa, the Turkish snail, Helix locurum, and the Roman or Burgundy snail, Helix pomatia, also known as the land lobster for its superior flavor and texture, are the most popular species of edible snails in the world. Establishing a snail farm. Space for growing leafy vegetation or vegetables is necessary for feeding purposes. Night dew is important for healthy snail mobility. Sheds or snail boxes must be secure to avoid snails escaping, and protect against predators. Also use materials which are decay resistant. To construct snail housing using oil drums or old tanks, perforate. Lay sacks on the bottom of the tank to hold the soil and then fill with humus or loamy soil to a depth of 10–15 centimeters. Place dry leaves on the soil layer as mulching. Cover the box with a lid made of chicken wire mesh reinforced with mosquito nets. A snail house can also be called a snailery, snail pen, snail habitat, or snail housing. In general, if a soil supports good growth of cocoyam, tomatoes and leafy vegetables, it is suitable for snail farming. Before introducing snails to the site, the soil should be loosened by tilling. Snails need damp, not wet, environments. Although snails need moisture, you must drain wet or waterlogged free soil. Snail can survive in both natural and urban areas, or uninhabited environments. Common places that land snails inhabit are gardens, fields, agricultural areas, river banks or streams, suburbs, swamps, cities, jungles, and forests. When creating a snail habitat, choosing plants is important, especially when plants containing alkaloids are toxic to snails. The best plants for a snail terrarium include hens and chicks, peace lily, English ivy, golden pothos, string of pearls, zebra cactus, lucky bamboo, snake plant, and ferns. Potting soil. This is a cheap option that is ideal for snails to burrow in. This is a cheap substrate that is a popular choice for snail tanks. It holds moisture well, but it is prone to harboring mites and insects. Garden snails are herbivores and love fresh raw vegetables and fruits, avoid acidic fruits, as well as a calcium source for their shell. So far ours love spinach, lettuce, carrots, dandelion leaves, cucumber, apple and flowers. Snails and slugs have evolved to eat just about everything. They are herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous, and detritivorous, eating decaying waste from plants and other animals. There are specialist and generalist species that eat worms, vegetation, rotting vegetation, animal waste, fungus, and other snails. Land snails obtain calcium from their environment in a variety of ways, depending upon their autoecology. They eat live and decaying leaves and wood, fungi and algae on wood and rocks, sap, animal scats and carcasses, nematodes, and other snails. Other sources of calcium include egg shell, calcium supplements from pets shops, oyster shells, natural chalk and baby milk powder. Snails have both female and male reproductive cells. They are hermaphrodite. They don't actually need to mate with another snail in order to reproduce. Self-fertilization is possible. When conditions are optimal, warm weather, high humidity, snails can reproduce as frequently as once a month. Garden snails' reproduction is so fast that the average snail can lay 86 eggs per cycle, and with an average of 5 reproductive cycles a year, each individual snail can lay 430 eggs a year. Some snails begin hatching in as little as 24 hours, some don't hatch for up to 4 weeks. In the wild, the average gestation period lasts between 2 and 4 weeks. They begin as an egg, laid in batches of anywhere from 5 to several hundred. After 1 to 5 weeks they hatch into juvenile snails, which look like miniature versions of adult snails. Freshwater snails mature quickly, usually reaching adulthood in 4 to 8 weeks. How long do snails take to lay eggs? About 3 to 6 days egg laying. During the mating process each snail will lay around 80 eggs about 3 to 6 days after mating. Each snail digs a 2 to 4 cm hole in the soil with its foot to lay the eggs, which will hatch 2 weeks later. How do you take care of a snail hatchling? Put some plants in the breeder for your baby snails to crawl and snack on when they hatch. Both land and aquatic snail eggs need to stay moist, so make sure you spray them regularly, so that they do not become dry and crusty. If your eggs have dried out completely, it means that you are too late, sorry. Benefits of snail farming. Snails are highly reproductive. They have the benefit of being environmentally friendly. Snail meat is rich in protein and is delicious. Snail farming business has high market potential. Cost of starting a snail farming business is very low. The risks of losing snails are minimal. Disadvantages of snail farming. Snail meat is considered a delicacy by some, whereas others will not even touch it for religious or cultural reasons. Snails are relatively slow-growing animals. Furthermore, the consumable meat makes up only 40% maximum of the snail's total live weight. Diseases of snails. Bilharziasis, bilharzia, bilharziosis, and snail fever are, in the acute form, Katayama fever or alternate names for schistosomiasis. Theodore Bilharz identified the parasite Schistosoma hematobium in Egypt in 1851. Schistosomiasis is the second most prevalent tropical disease in the world, malaria is the first. Snail predators includes arthropods, insects, termites, beetle, mites, moth, driver ants, carabid beetles, cockroaches and soldier ants. Crustaceans, millipedes, centipedes, cricket, crabs and forest spider, reptiles, lizards and snakes, amphibians, frogs, turtles and toads, nematodes, rodents, mice and rats, aves, birds, crows, ducks and turkeys, as well as mammal, man. Fungal diseases. Mainly Fusarium spp affects indigenous snail species. These diseases is commonly referred to as rosy eggs disease, and the affect eggs turns reddish brown and die off. Parasites such as Aluatihella flavicornis are diseases vectors to snails both in their wild and under domestication. Bacterial diseases caused by Pseudomonas spp, especially Pseudomonas aeruginosa, causes intestinal infections in snails. This disease affects snails' normal growth and development processes. Deficiency diseases. It occurs mostly in domesticated snails with poor feeding, as a result of lack of minerals, nutrients, especially calcium and phosphorus. The affected snail's shell turns white as a result of deficiency of calcium in their feeds over a longer period of time. Cannibalism. This mostly occurs in domesticated snails housed in pens. Older snails can eat, break the shells or fed on hatchlings as a source of nutrients, especially calcium and water, to avoid dehydration and for their survival. This occurs where snails are overcrowded and there is increased competition for food and space. Generally, maintaining of high hygienic standards in snail farms will reduce the incidence of diseases and spread of diseases in the snail farms. Snails ingest microorganisms, e.g. bacteria, from the soil and their environment. Poor hygiene may predispose the snails to diseases and pathogens, which will affect their growth and reproduction. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. If you wish to support and sponsor my channel, head down to my Patreon page using the link below to become a patron and a sponsor of my channel for as low as $1 a month and get amazing offers such as live tour around our farm, free consultation and other wonderful merchandise on my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/asgardians. Thanks and Godspeed.